So, AI. It's literally everywhere you look today, right? But it's crazy to think that just a little over a decade ago, the whole field was basically frozen solid, stuck in what everyone called the AI winter. So what broke the ice? What was the big thaw? Well, a huge part of that answer comes down to the work of one absolute visionary, Dr. Fei-Fei Li. In this explainer, we're going to look at how she didn't just spark the AI revolution we're living in, but how she's now drawing the map for its next great adventure. All right, let's jump in.
Okay, so let's get a little context here. The whole idea of artificial intelligence, it's not some new thing. I mean, people were dreaming this stuff up way back in the 1950s. And yeah, there were some bright spots, some moments of excitement. But honestly, by the time we hit the late 90s and early 2000s, that bright promise, it was pretty much fizzling out. The money dried up, researchers lost interest, the whole field just went into this deep freeze. People called it the AI winter. The dream of smart machines felt, well, kind of like a joke, really. A frozen relic from the past, not the future.
And this wasn't ancient history. Check out this quote from Dr. Li. She said that as recently as mid-2016, tech companies were actually avoiding the term AI. Can you believe that? They thought it might be a dirty word. It was practically toxic. That's how low the field's reputation had sunk. This really sets the scene perfectly for the massive seismic shift that was just around the corner. A shift that, you guessed it, she was about to set in motion.
So that brings us to our first major chapter, the ImageNet revolution. This is it. This is the breakthrough that completely shattered the AI winter for good.
So you've got to ask yourself, what was holding everything back? In the early 2000s, you had all these brilliant researchers with amazing theories, super complex algorithms. It was like they had built these incredible high-performance engines. But the engines were just sitting there, silent. They were missing one crucial ingredient, the fuel. The entire field was stuck, completely bottlenecked by one single thing.
And that missing fuel? It was data. Plain and simple. All these fancy models had absolutely nothing to learn from. And this is where Dr. Li had a truly profound insight. She looked at how humans learn, right? We're a big data process. We learn from a lifetime of seeing, hearing, and touching things. Her big hypothesis was that for machines to get truly smart, they needed the exact same thing. A massive, and I mean massive, well-organized dataset.
And so she and her team of students started what would become the ImageNet project. And the scale of what they were trying to do, look, for a small university lab, it was just staggering. They decided they were going to map the entire world of objects. That meant sifting through the internet and carefully, painstakingly curating 15 million images.
But here's the kicker. It wasn't just about collecting a giant pile of photos. That wouldn't work. They meticulously organized all those millions of images into 22,000 different categories of objects. Think about that depth. This created a rich, structured, labeled world where an AI could finally start to understand the difference between, say, a leopard and a laptop. It could finally start to see.
Okay, so this is where it all comes together. The year is 2012. You've got the three magic ingredients for the modern AI recipe. First, you have the big data, Dr. Li's incredible ImageNet dataset. Second, you have a powerful algorithm, a deep neural network. And third, and this is the wild part, you have the computing power from 2 NVIDIA gaming GPUs, just regular graphics cards. A team led by the legendary Jeff Hinton put these three things together and boom, the spark hit the fuel. The result wasn't just a win at the big ImageNet competition, it was a total demolition. It crushed all the old records and proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that this was the future of AI. But here's what's so important to understand about Dr. Li's work. For her, this massive technical win was never just about the code or the hardware. It pointed to something much, much deeper. It was about AI's human core.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? There's nothing artificial about AI. It's inspired by people, it's created by people, and most importantly, it impacts people. I mean, think about that. She's saying that even though we call it artificial, this whole thing is a deeply, profoundly human project. It comes from us, it's built by us, and in the end, it's going to affect all of us. And that leads to a really powerful conclusion. We're the ones in the driver's seat. We're responsible for where this all goes.
So after basically kickstarting the entire modern AI era, you think she might take a break, right? Nope. Dr. Li is already focused on the next great frontier. She calls them world models. The core idea is that as amazing as today's AI is with words and pictures, it's missing something absolutely fundamental, a real gut-level understanding of the physical 3D world that you and I live in. Here's a really simple way to understand the problem.
Imagine you take one of the most powerful AIs in the world today and you show it a video of someone walking through a few different office rooms, and you just ask it one question. How many chairs did you see? The AI will completely fail. It can't do it. But an elementary school kid, they'd get it right in a heartbeat. A task that's child's play for us is literally impossible for our best AI. That right there, that's the gap. That's the missing spatial intelligence.
So Dr. Li's answer to this problem is a whole new kind of AI she calls a world model. And this is a huge leap. We're not just talking about an AI that can process words on a page or pixels in an image. We're talking about an AI that is built from the ground up on spatial intelligence. So imagine an AI that sees that chair from the video. It doesn't just label it chair, it understands its 3D form. It knows its function, that you can sit on it. And it can figure out how to walk around it, even if it's never seen that specific room before. That is a world model.
All right, this brings us to the ultimate test for this kind of AI, robotics. This is one of the oldest and, let's be honest, hardest challenges in the entire field. Because, look, teaching an AI to write a pretty good email is one thing, but teaching it how to actually move and interact with a real, messy, physical world, that's a whole different ballgame.
And to really get why robotics is so tough, you need to know about this famous idea in AI called the bitter lesson. It basically says that throughout history, the winning strategy hasn't been to write super clever, intricate code. The winning strategy has always been to use simpler algorithms but just throw massive amounts of data and computing power at the problem. I mean, ImageNet was the ultimate proof of the bitter lesson. But when you try to do that with robots, you hit a brick wall. It just doesn't work.
So why can't we just apply that bitter lesson to robots? Well, there are a few huge reasons. First, data scarcity. You just can't go online and download petabytes of data of a robot physically doing things. It doesn't exist. Second, there's a data mismatch. A YouTube video of a chef baking a cake is useless to a robot. It doesn't have the 3D data, the physics, the sense of touch that a robot needs to actually crack an egg without smashing it. And finally, there's the insane complexity of just touching things. Dr. Li has this brilliant way of putting it. A self-driving car has one main goal: don't touch anything. But a useful robot in your home? Its goal is to touch everything, but to do it carefully with purpose. And that, my friends, is an infinitely harder problem to solve.
And this all leads us to the final and maybe the most important point that Dr. Li always comes back to. AI is not a spectator sport. This isn't something that a few engineers are building in a lab somewhere that's just going to happen to us. No way. This is a technology that's going to be woven into the fabric of everything we do. It's going to be shaped by artists, and by nurses, and by teachers, and by you. The story of AI's future isn't finished. It's not even close. The only real question left is, what's your role going to be?